there was the 10 questions with Pete Carmichael at NewOrleansSaints.com earlier today. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend go check it out. The Saints have done a really good job of pumping out content amid the shutdown and making everyone available, making their staff available. So Pete Carmichael does this 10 questions with John DeShazer. And I think overall, it was forgive me, sorry. Overall, it was enlightening, and there was some really good stuff in there. They talked about the newcomers. They talked about Emmanuel Sanders. They talked about getting Jared Cook back going again. It was a lot of really good stuff therein. But one of the things that, for me, especially considering the Cam storyline that was most interesting, was talking about the quarterbacks. In particular, Jameis Winston and how he fits in. So one of the questions was, when you look at Jameis, do you see a lot of stuff that is fixable in a short period of time that you can maybe just, taking a step back, help him with? And Carmichael said, and this was the part of it that stood out to me listening to Carmichael. He said, quote, the one thing that stands out, talking about Jameis, the one thing that stands out to me right away is that he's sharp. He's smart. He has asked the right questions. And so he has that experience, and he's got the ability. You see him throw the ball downfield. He's got excellent arm strength. So there's a lot to be excited about, looking forward to working with him. So again, Saints OC talking about Jameis, and he's sitting here saying the first things out of his mouth are having these meetings. He's sharp. He's smart. He asked the right questions. He's got experience. Boom, 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 boom. I got an email earlier today from someone asking if, and it was from, I'll shout him out, Michael Baroni. You can always email matt@1045espn.com. And he linked that Cam article, and he said, in light of this, the Tired of Being Humble article, do you think the Saints made the right decision with Jameis over Cam? A couple of things. I don't know that both were an option. I think Cam Newton, given the fact that he's been an MVP, probably was going to have more options in different places than Jameis was. Cam was coming off of a season where he was injured. Jameis was coming off a season where he threw for 5,000 yards, yes, but also 30 interceptions, and was looking for that second contract that was going to give him 5-year, $100 million, and there just wasn't a team that was going to pay it. So Jameis was going to have to take this route this year wherever he went. But I don't think that was the either-or for New Orleans, the Jameis or Cam. But I do think, and I've advocated for this long, for them signing Jameis, that's a really good sign when you hear Carmichael not talk about how physically impressive that he is. Instead, it's the between the ears part. It's the being the student of the game part that he's impressed with. Contrast this to when Carmichael's asked about Taysom Hill. And understand, I'm not saying that Taysom Hill isn't a smart guy, a smart quarterback. I'm reading tea leaves and gauging answers when the offensive coordinator is asked about two quarterbacks and how he responds to those questions. Here's what he says about working with Taysom. And the question is, with Taysom Hill taking on a little bit more of a role as a quarterback in terms of reps and those kinds of things, how much does that affect the offense? How much have you seen him improve as a quarterback? And Carmichael says, I think the focus during training camp for us with Taysom, as it was last year, is he's competing at the quarterback spot. And then once the season starts, he was able to do so many things for us, do them so well. We're trying to put our best guys on the field. He's usually one of the best guys for certain situations. And then he says, I think as we get in training camp, the nice thing is you're focusing on the quarterback spot. You're getting reps. The other stuff will come, and we know what he's able to do with those spots. So they asked a follow-up about how much Taysom's grown from the Green Bay days. Carmichael says, again, I think there's huge stride in his development. When the season starts, he kind of gets thrown into so many different roles, but it'll be nice again having another training camp for him. I can't help but read that and continue to hammer the point that the New Orleans Saints coaching staff does not see Taysom Hill as a quarterback. They know, based on what they've seen on film and on field on Sundays, what Taysom Hill can do in his slash role, being an athlete. Hey, flex out and be a receiver. Put your hand in the dirt and be a tight end. Get in the backfield and run the wildcat or the single wing, whatever you want to call it. my point is they know he can do all of that. In training camp, they let him get quarterback reps, but that essentially is siphoned off once the season starts. They're telling you when the season starts, it's great we get him quarterback reps during camp because once the season starts, he leaves and goes into this slash role that he plays. I find it hard to believe that if you were potentially 1 year away from a transformational change in your franchise where Drew Brees is out and your next guy is in, if you really believe that next guy was Taysom Hill, why you wouldn't be getting every single rep possible for that guy at that spot if you really believed he were the guy? I think what we're seeing anecdotally here is Jameis Winston, we know at 26 years old, has all the physical ability. We've seen him be a starter in this league. He started 70 games or 80 games in his career. 90 games, right? Anyway. And then you're looking at the other guy in Taysom as one who is so valuable in this role. But if you were really looking at long-term prospects, you're not putting him in this role. You're getting him all the reps here at quarterback. And it looks like that's not what they're going to do. Again, we'll get him reps in camp as a quarterback, and that's exciting. But once the season starts, he's Taysom Hill again, which is what the Saints need for him to win. But as the long-term prospects of Taysom being a quarterback, that don't jive. It's interesting. Go read it. They also, again, this wasn't a video interview. It's a Q&A where they type out the long-form answers, the transcript of the interview. They talked about Emmanuel Sanders, and essentially Pete Carmichael said, yeah, he's going to be doing a different thing for us than he was a year ago. So really the key is getting him timing with Drew, hence Drew Brees out in Denver last week working out with Emmanuel Sanders. They're getting that done right now. Also talked about Cesar Ruiz and how excited they are about him and his potential, maybe to be able to play early. Talked about Jared Cook, as I mentioned. So a lot of good stuff about the newcomers. If you want to go check that out, it's at NewOrleansSaints.com. It's right on the homepage. It's 10 questions with Pete Carmichael. So some really good stuff there if you haven't checked it out. At NewOrleansSaints.com. Just some anecdotal stuff about quarterback play heading into the 2020 football season. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.